Good morning. Welcome Year 8 to tutorial when I can speak number 2, something I'm sure you've all been waiting with vast excitement about. I hope you're all doing well and your second weekend in lockdown hasn't been too arduous for you. Keep up with the reading. Remember, that is a very good way to entertain yourself and keep your brain working. Now, what I want you to do is open those classwork books for me. Remember, if you've got a good chunk of your page, please stay on that, use that, save the trees. If you've only got a few lines left, then go on to the next page. I want you to write down today's date. For me, that's the 1st of April, but you may be listening to this a couple of days later, so whatever date it is you're doing this on. I want you to write down the LO in black. Once you've written that down, remember we underline that with a ruler. And then leave a line and write down the title. Is Prospero a hero or a villain? This is what we were looking at in the last tutorial. We're going to continue to look at that in preparation for that assessment, and then this is going to be our assessment question. Okay? So I'm going to go on to the next slide. If you need more time to write all of that down and get it underlined with a ruler, then please press pause. Otherwise, continue on to the next slide. Now, look at the Word document you were sent. So you'll have either got the link to this tutorial through the link I sent in your email or through your Go for Schools. If you've got it off Go for Schools, you will have already seen that this document has been sent to you and set as a homework, as it were, in your Go for Schools. Okay? So if you haven't pulled that up or printed that off already, please press pause now. Open that document up in your Go for Schools. If you can have it where you've got both screens open at the same time, or you flip from one to the other, or if you can print it off and have it next to you, even better. Whichever way works for you, okay? What you need to be doing is you need to read that scene. Now, obviously, I have not sent you the whole of Act 1, Scene 2. It's a very long scene. What we're looking at is that end section where we have that conversation between Caliban and Prospero for the first time. Remember, Act 1, Scene 2 is where we had Prospero telling Miranda all about how they ended up on the island and what happened to him with being usurped. Then we had the first meeting between Ariel and Prospero, and we learned about their relationship. That's what we looked at in our last tutorial. And then this time we're looking at that first introduction and meeting between Caliban and Prospero. So there are 3 tasks you're going to do for this scene. Initially, these will take you between 10 to 15 minutes maximum, depending on how quickly or slowly you work, okay? You need to write down question number 1. What are your impressions of the relationship between Prospero and Caliban? You must have evidence to support your answer. So, I want you to read all of the scene that I've sent you in order to answer this and think about it. How do they speak to each other? How do they appear to behave to each other? What do you think their feelings, their thoughts and their emotions are towards each other? What does that suggest about their relationship? Then you're going to pick 1 or 2 quotes to support that. So you have to think about what quotes best link to what you've said about what they think and feel about each other. Next question, number 2. How does Caliban speak to Prospero? Why might he behave in this way? So you've got to do 2 things there. You've got to read what Caliban says to Prospero and think about that language. Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it respectful? Is it disrespectful? Is it somebody being weak and submissive and surrendering? Or is it somebody still trying to fight back and challenge? And then think about, once you've decided that, read what he's saying. Think about, what is he telling us? What is he saying Prospero has done to him, or that he has done to Prospero? What information do we learn about what's happened before we met Prospero and Caliban? So think about what his tone is, how he speaks, and then what from the information we learn about happened between them could be his reason for why he speaks to him like this. Okay? Clear, full sentences to answer these questions, please. And then the third one is, which quotation shows that Caliban is resentful of Prospero? Okay? Now, there may be a couple that hint to this, but I want the strongest one. Don't just pick the first one. I want you to really think about picking the right quote for this. Think about which line or lines does Caliban say that really present his resentment. Remember, when we resent someone, it means we begrudge it. We don't want them to have it. We're angry. We're frustrated. We don't think that they should have something that they do. Okay? Where do we see that in what Caliban says? So, like I said, these 3 questions should take you between 10 and 15 minutes. So, you're going to need to press pause here. And if you don't have that scene printed out, you're going to need to open it up, read through that and look at it and come back to these questions. All of these questions are not just being answered in your mind, in your books in detail. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide, so that will come straight up when you take it off pause. Now for another quote expression. I know this is all of your favourite things to do, and I like to keep you happy. So we practiced this with the conversation with Ariel last tutorial. You did some extra on your own as well as the one we did together. Here's another one that I want us to do together for Caliban. Okay, so remember how we set this out. You're going to need at least roughly half a page. You want the quote to be in a bubble or a box if you want to draw it with a ruler, I don't mind. Roughly in the middle of your page, because we need to be able to write above, below and to the side of this quote. Okay, I picked 3 of the key words in this quote for us to zoom in on. If there's something else that you really want to zoom in on, and analyse yourself, please feel free to add that in. But these are the 3 words that I think are the most important. If I was going to use this quote in my essay, these are the 3 words I would analyse in my answer. So, thou poisonous slave, got by the devil himself. Straight away, what kind of tone does that give us? What is that suggesting Prospero's view of Caliban is? The first word we're going to zoom in on is poisonous. So, the use of the, in brackets, insert word class here. I'm not going to tell you that. That should be a nice easy one, and if it's not, you've all got access to Google. Have a little cheat, see what the Google dictionary tells you the type of word class poisonous is. But there is a clue in the notes that I've already put on here. So that suggests that Prospero, believes Caliban is dangerous, as poisons are what? What are they? What do they do? How are you going to finish that sentence? This implies, remember we don't want to keep using the same word. We've already used suggests, so now we're going to move on to implies. All of these suggests, implies, they're part of your AO2. That's showing that you're exploring the effects of the language that the writers used. So this implies that Prospero does not what with Caliban. If you think someone's dangerous, what are you not likely to do? Making their relationship appear to be? Think about it. How does this suggest their relationship is? Is it one of kindness and respect? Is it one of distrust and dislike? Is it one where they're very kind of united and they're on the same page? Are they very separate? Think about it. How are you going to finish that sentence? What are you going to put in those 2 spaces? Also, by describing Caliban in this way, makes the audience view Prospero as what? If you were to call somebody poisonous, the people listening to you speaking, how are they going to feel about that? That's a very dramatic way of describing somebody. So what does that make you seem like? How does that make you come across? Think about that in relation to what our question is. We're looking at what's good and what's bad about Prospero, aren't we? Because we're looking at where is he a villain, where is he a hero. Okay. Then the next one, we'll go to slave. The noun, I've given you the word class on this one. So the noun slave creates a very negative and what kind of tone? I've given you a clue because I've put a P. What word beginning with P could we use to describe the tone when we're talking about slave? Okay, it's a very dramatic way of describing people, isn't it? I mean, you're really emphasising how much power and authority and control you have over somebody. You're describing them as your slave. It suggests that Prospero has what in relation to Caliban? Okay, that might be more than one word you want to put in that gap there. And a modern audience would view this as what? What is our view on slavery now? Do we think to enslave a human, to essentially own them, is acceptable. How do we as society now feel about that? Okay. The fact that Prospero treats Caliban this way makes him seem like a villain. Why? Finish that sentence. However, I wrote they, that should be the. Correct that when you're copying that out, I do apologise. The audience may later forgive Prospero for this when they find out that Caliban, what do you remember? What do we learn that Caliban did before Prospero kind of turned on him and enslaved him in this way? Try and dredge back those memories. What did Caliban do? Why do they get on so badly at this point? And it is in the extract. You don't just have to remember. It is retold to you in that extract that I've sent you. Now, the last word we're going to look at is the devil. The devil is the master of all what? What is the devil in control of? Okay, what does the devil work with? There's a clue in the name devil. Prospero accusing Caliban of being got by the devil implies that there is no what in Caliban. If you're described as coming from the devil, what would you not have anything of in you if we think about what the devil is? And Prospero views him as pure what? Again, a clue is in the word devil. Okay. Obviously, I've talked through that much quicker than you're going to be able to write it out. So go back, rewind that section, listen to the sections again as you're writing them out. Press pause as and when you need to. So I want you to annotate each of these quotes. Okay, consider their language choices. So I want you to do these 3 quotes. If you're really struggling, then pick just 2. My greens and my purples, I need all 3 completed, okay? And I want you to explode them, okay? Probably don't explode, for my purples, don't explode more than 4. One of them might be a phrase rather than just a word. Don't explode more than 4 words or phrases in your quotes. My yellows and reds, I would say to a maximum of 3. Okay, you might want to just try 2, and that way you'll get through all 3 quotes. So I want you to do little mini quote explosions, similar to what we just did together on the last slide, on each of these quotes. That should take you probably about another 15 minutes, okay? Maybe 20 if you're struggling, okay? You can look words up if you're not sure what type of word it is, what word class it is, and you think that might be useful for your annotation, or if you think it'll be useful for you to decide which words to zoom in on, okay? I'm going to go on to the next slide, but while you're doing this, please pause so you've got those quotes in front of you to help you. Or you can go back and look at the example that was on the next slide, and that might give you some ideas. Now, I would like it, unless you've only just kind of roughly started a page, if you've got a good chunk of work on your page, then I want you to go on to a fresh page. This is your assessment question, okay? Do not panic. This isn't an assessment exactly like it would have been if we were still in school, okay? I'm not going to be giving you a level grade at the end of this, okay? Because I know some of you will be finding it much harder to do this without having a teacher in the room. These tutorials are here to help you and guide you through, but I know that that will still make it a little bit more challenging for a lot of you. So don't worry about this. This is just for 3 reasons really. 1, so you keep practicing writing your essay answers and doing this analysis in this way, because you're going to need those skills when we come back to school, okay, whenever that ends up being. It also helps me see how well, how well you've kind of got to grips with the character of Prospero and have understood the play. And it rounds off the unit, okay? We need to have something to kind of create a closure to the Tempest before we move on to what we'll be doing next term, okay? So, I want the title. Is Prospero a hero or a villain at the top of your page? Underline. In the margin, put assessment task for me, please. And here, don't copy this down on this board, on this slide, sorry. But this is just to remind you how we structure each paragraph. I'm going to emphasise that again. This isn't the whole essay, this is one paragraph. Okay? You may want to take a picture of this slide so that when you're doing, when you're looking at the sentence starters and things on the other slides, while you're writing your essay, you can still have this structure in front of you. So remember, we open each paragraph with our what, a statement that directly answers the question. So your statement has to directly state whether you think Prospero is a hero or a villain. You might state that he's partially a hero or he's partially a villain, or you might state that at one point in the play he's a hero and at another point in the play he's a villain. In blue, you can see an example opening sentence that you could use for your first paragraph. So I've said, early on in the beginning of the play, Prospero is presented as a villain. I believe this is because he, and then I've ... because that's when you lead into your how one. Okay, this is when you link or you embed my greens and my purples if you can. Start thinking about how do we link this quote in with the sentence. Okay, embed a quote that clearly supports your opening statement. Your quote has to support what you've said. If you're saying he's a villain, don't give me a quote where he's being really nice to somebody. If you're saying he's a hero, don't give me a quote where he's calling somebody a poisonous slave. Okay? Think about the quotes you're using. You may have two quotes you wish to introduce. Usually we would only do one per paragraph, but to make things a bit easier for you, to make it less stressful, if it's easier for you to introduce two quotes where early on we see one with Ariel, one with Caliban, him being cruel, or two quotes, one with Ariel, one with Caliban, where he's being kind, and then you look at those two quotes together. Or you could include the shipwreck. It doesn't have to be the way he talks to Ariel. It could be the fact that he ordered that shipwreck, or the fact that he does ask if all of the people on that shipwreck are okay. So we could look at the fact that he causes the shipwreck, villain. The fact that he didn't actually want anybody to be harmed, hero. You decide. Then your how-to. Now this, how-to and how-3, will be the biggest part of your writing in your paragraph, okay? These two sections will be the biggest chunk of your paragraph. And these are what all of our quote explosions link to, okay? The information you've pulled out already in those quote explosions, the one you did with me in the last tutorial, with me in this tutorial, and then the ones you did on your own, that is what gives you the information for the how-to and how-3. Do not ignore those. Do not, if you're sensible, use quotes that you have not already exploded, because that will make your life much more difficult. So remember, when we analyse our quote, we zoom in on at least two separate sections. The zooming in, what I mean by that, is all of that stuff you've written around the edge of your exploded quote, okay, that's your zooming in. Where you've said poisonous means this, it has this tone, it creates this impression, it suggests this. If you use that information, that's what you put in for your how-to and your how-3. You just pull it together in full detailed sentences. Okay. Explore the structure, tone, punctuation, connotation, symbolism, and word cards. These are all the things that you're referred to in your explosions. And then how-3, that again links to it, because that's about saying, what does that suggest to the audience? What does that imply? What does that teach us? What does that make us think? Remember, you then want to link your effect to how Prospero behaves, what his relationships are like, and then link that to how that makes us see Prospero as a hero, if that's what you said in your what, or as a villain, if that's what you said in your what. Now, the challenge section, the how-for, this is only definitely for my purples and for my greens if you can try. Okay, this is where we start to develop and make our arguments more thoughtful, make our analysis more thoughtful, because we look at alternative interpretations. So we say, on the other hand, the quote could present Prospero as what? The tone of the line could make us understand that Prospero or Caliban or Ariel are sorry, or are afraid, or are worried, or are simply hurt, whatever it may be. So you take what you've said in your analysis already and you think, is there another way that this could be viewed? What else might this suggest that I haven't already said? And that really helps you to get higher on that mark scheme. Okay, and then our why one, writer's intentions. Why does Shakespeare want to create this presentation of him? By him, I mean Prospero, at the beginning, if that's what you're looking at, or at the middle, if that's where your quotes have come from, or at the end of the play. Think about the theme of revenge, the theme of guilt, the theme of greed, okay, and the context. Think about how we see Prospero change as the play develops, and how at the beginning he might want us to be worried about what Prospero is capable of. Because if we think he's this villain, he's this cruel, he's this callous, he's this manipulative man right at the beginning, it means there's tension because we don't know what he's going to do. We don't know what's going to happen to Ferdinand. We don't know what's going to happen to Alonso. We don't even know what's going to happen to Caliban. So think about how that keeps that intrigue, that tension, that suspense for the audience, what it makes us worry about or predict. Okay, so like I said, you might want to take a picture of this so that you've got it when we go on to the next slide. Top tips. Use quotes you exploded in the last tutorial and this one. I've already said that, but it's worth reiterating. Remember, don't ignore that how I structure I just spent time going through. Use it. That is your paragraph. So you should be producing 2 at least of those paragraphs. What, how, why is 1 paragraph. I know I've repeated that a lot, but people still get muddled. I've already talked about taking a picture of your phone of it. You must produce at least 2 paragraphs. Do not use all of your quotes in the first paragraph, a maximum of 2. Zoom in and analyse each quote that you use in both of your paragraphs. I'm doing well today. In your second paragraph. Explore the opposite presentation of Prospero to the one in your first paragraph. So, for example, if you opened with he's a villain, in your second paragraph, you could explore, however, other times in the play, he is more of a hero. Tell me why. If you only do this, if you have quotes for the opposite argument, if you don't have any ideas or any quotes that you could use for the opposite argument, then don't do that. Just develop how we continue to see him either being a hero, if that's what you said at the beginning, or how we continue to see him being a villain, if that's what you said at the beginning. Okay? Always use quotation marks. Commas. Don't keep using and. Use commas. You know how to punctuate. Full stops and capital letters. Beginning of sentences. People's names. I do not want to see Prospero with a small p. Read your work back through. This is the easiest way to gain marks, okay? Read your work back through to make sure that you have not missed words out or repeated the same idea. If you write a paragraph and then your second paragraph just repeats exactly the same thing, you're not developing. You're not showing me anything new, okay? Use the sentence starters on the next slide to help you. So you may want to keep this paused and have this slide up while you write your essay, or like we did with the what, how, why structure, you might want to take a picture of this on your phone so you can close all of this down, be there with your book and your extract, and then just flick between the 2 images on your phone, whichever works best for you. Obviously, if you're sharing your computer with siblings, that would probably be the most helpful way so that they can then get their turn on there, but whatever works best for you. If you're confused by anything, if you're worried about anything, if you're unsure, please send me an email and I'll try and clarify any questions you have. I hope you enjoy doing this essay. I'm sure you will love it. I hope you've enjoyed doing the Tempest. I love this though. And have a lovely Easter. This will be the last tutorial before Easter. Obviously, I'm not saying that you have to do this essay over Easter. You've got today, you've got tomorrow, you've got Friday. If you're bored over Easter and you want to get it done, please feel free, but you do not have to. You've got till the end of the first week back to make sure this is uploaded. Now, when we come back, you should be set up on a thing called Microsoft Teams, and that's where you're going to upload your work. So if you do finish it over Easter, you can email it to me. But if it's after Easter, then I want you to upload it through Teams. There may be some information coming to you through your email. If not, I'll put a little tutorial together when I figure how to work it out myself to talk you through how to upload that before you need to get that uploaded. Okay? Have a lovely Easter holidays. Stay safe, stay indoors, and you will hear from me again when we're back after Easter. Thank you. Bye.